Us, abandoned ship. We're not caring about this car. We're thinking about the next year.
Exit clauses, yada yada yada.
Hulkenberg is the blue shell right now. Angle grinder guy, he gets a raise.
There you go.
Whoa.
He gets both salaries.
There you go.
What are they doing with the 5th and 6th seats?
Yeah, it's just Weenie Hut Formula One Junior now.
They don't fire up the same way that F1 cars do.
Right. This is another episode of the space saga that is the Tired Boys podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone. We've got a good episode ahead of you here, right leading into the summer break of the F1 season. So we've got a good bit to talk about from the race weekend, Formula 3, Formula 2. And we've got a couple new segments we're going to give a shot here this week. So Justin, I'm excited to get into it and see where this crazy episode takes us.
Yeah, like you said, we're gonna try some new things. Just alluding to all the Star Wars jokes that were made over the weekend. But we'll get to that. We have some quick hitters that we wanna go through. And then we'll get into the meat of the episode. So yeah, Aaron, like you said, it's good to see you. Let's get into it.
Sounds good. So with the quick hitters, I know you wanted to lead off there with the upcoming IndyCar race we've got in Portland this weekend. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was just checking in on what we have going on in some of the other racing series because obviously we're going to be off until like the end of this month for Formula One. So I was just seeing, what else is on the calendar, what else can I sink my teeth into. We have Portland, Oregon coming up in the IndyCar Challenge, like we had talked about previously. I think it's like this race and then two more available to these drivers. It's a shorter track, which I think is going to be interesting in IndyCar. It means it's like 100 or like 110 laps or something like this. Alex Palou, two-time winner. But also, interestingly, another name that we've talked about a little bit is Will Power. He's also a two-time winner here around Portland. So maybe a dark horse for this race in particular. Obviously, a spec series, everybody has an equal shot as long as they can do well in qualifying. And Will Power's like gone well around here previously. So as far as kind of like I'd said, dark horse money, I'd put it on Will Power. But yeah, what I'm really looking forward to right now is just the battle between Palou and Pato O'Ward. I think there's going to be just some great competition between those two duking it out for the championship. Because while the margins are going to be tight for Pato to catch up, with some good on-track performances, like it can be done. So yeah, I think in the next coming weekends, I'm really going to have an eye on that open wheel single seater action over in IndyCar.
Yeah, and looking at it, so it's not an oval or anything, so it's going to be probably kind of scratch that itch a little bit of missing Formula One with it being a more standard circuit or street track. So definitely we'll have to keep an eye on that coming up this weekend. The next quick hitter that we have on the schedule, I have some news that apparently one of the power unit suppliers informed their customers at the Belgian Grand Prix last race that their costs for power units will most likely double compared to current costs. I guess with the new engines and engine regulations, maybe just the things are not quite as efficient, and so a little more costly for creating those new power units and everything for the teams that they're supplying to. But that's I think a pretty significant change, especially with what we see oftentimes early in regulations with the amount of power unit struggles, power unit failures of a new generation of cars coming in. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see. That could have some pretty big implications into cost caps and things like that. So whether or not that will shift, especially with them no longer having the penalties for taking additional power units or like the grid penalties for those. Um, I feel like that encouraged teams to kind of more actively swap out power units and everything. But with that cost increase, it sounds like that might make things a little bit more dicey to do so next year.
Yeah, and we may not see it like, or it won't be we, obviously, like we're, third party, secondhand type thing. But the teams might see it not just in the upfront, but also kind of like second order if there are uh just even small issues on track, even from the driver's side, an off here, a small shunt, a crash there. All of a sudden, you're paying a lot to take on these new parts. They were costing more to make them in at the start to begin with. What was it? Williams, was that this year or maybe the previous year where they were like lacking all sorts of parts? They were missing like a full
Hmm.
chassis
Yeah, that was
for
last
their
year.
second driver.
They took Logan Sargent's chassis the one weekend and gave it to Alex Albon after Albon crashed. They were like, "You're still
Right.
our best shot at points, so sorry, Logan. Here you go." But yeah, like no spare parts and all, especially early in the season.
It's these types of scenarios that I think of where yeah, they may be significantly impacted and have to make these types of compromises on the track, because yeah, doubling the price, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, we'll see how the teams deal with it, and just be mindful of like early season offs and crashes that may inhibit even the top teams.
Yeah, and like previously, the main thing that kind of caused was just those grid penalties. Like later in the season, you see Verstappen or Russell or whoever taking these like 10 place grid penalties for new power units and parts and everything. But now that definitely could significantly impact that cost cap. So it'll be um, kind of something to keep an eye on this coming year with the new regulations and all. The next quick hitter though on our agenda is that Fred Vasseur received a multi-year extension of his contract with Ferrari. So I personally like that move. I think that Fred Vasseur has done a solid job. I think they have done a lot of good things, and they are trying to push the team forward. But hopefully, they're clearly still having their struggles. Hopefully, with the new regulations and everything, he'll be able to keep kind of putting the organizational aspects into place and get things moving in a positive direction here with Ferrari, where they seem to kind of be a little bit stagnant at the moment.
Yeah, I seems fair to me. I don't understand the full breadth of what these individuals do for the team. Obviously, they're like very media forward individuals and like positions on the team. Anytime I've encountered, Vasor talking about his team or his drivers, he tends to give what am I thinking? He's generous often to the people that are interviewing, talking with him. So I've always found that useful from like a team principal's
Mm.
perspective aspect. So that I've enjoyed. But as far as like what they're bringing to the team, he must be significantly valuable if a multi-year deal is being signed. So yeah, I look forward to continuing to see him on the grid, because yeah, I think he's helping Ferrari like fall upwards in some way.
Yeah, and I think it's good to obviously if someone was like doing a brutal job, they're really struggling and everything. That's one thing and you can move on quickly, but I think giving someone who does seem to be doing a pretty solid job a longer amount of time to like continue the progress that they've started instead of kind of restarting back with someone new. I think that's always a good move if things are kind of staying in a positive direction. So definitely a smart signing in my mind for them moving forward to the upcoming years. And then just a little Isaac Hadjar fact of the day. But he's the only current driver that, and through the Hungarian Grand Prix, has not had a single Q1 exit in their career. I saw that the other week, and I was like, I feel like that's um, a little bit of a talking point, but something that I just wanted to make sure I touched on because that's pretty impressive. It speaks to the kind of year that he's had, and we'll we'll talk about him probably a little bit more down the line here in the episode. But I thought that was a cool stat to see, and especially this far into the year as a rookie.
One of my least favorite stats is something that sounds exciting, but when you look at the sample size, it's like, yeah, okay. Let's see it in a
Oh,
season or
100%. Yeah.
whatever it is, right? I played Blood Gulch one time. I won it. I have 100% win rate.
Yeah, but I think even with some of like there are some younger drivers and everything, even like a Piastri who's only been in Formula One for 3 seasons now. And like he's not on that list. None of the other rookies are on that list, even the rookies that we feel like are having solid rookie years. Kimi Antonelli, for one, in a Mercedes has had Q1 exit. So just kind of and obviously when you look at the sample size and everything, it doesn't sound as crazy, but it is crazy to me that he has gone this far into the season, having that high of consistency when we've seen even Yuki in the Red Bull at the back of the grid. We've seen Lawson in the Red Bull at the back of the grid. We've seen um, drivers that we would maybe expect to be looking a little bit stronger, struggling more. So definitely a just a nod to the kind of season that Isaac Hadjar is having. Um,
Hmm.
but that does wrap up the quick hitters here, and so the first shift of this episode that we're doing, we're gonna move over to the water cooler. And here's some of the memes from around the water cooler here for this week. Look at some of the funny moments and all. Um, and as Justin alluded to, one of those is the Leclerc radio message that seemed to be the gift that just keeps on giving throughout that portion of the broadcast. Definitely a pretty amusing moment to see that where they just kept scrolling down the radio message there. I don't think they
Well,
anticipated it.
here's like what everybody has to understand is like it's cool to check in after the race, like what did everybody say, but what you have to understand, the listeners need to know, is you made that joke that every Twitter post everybody made, like, oh, the Star Wars, you made that live, like, on the spot. I bet even first. So we just have to give credit where it's due. Aaron, you nailed that, because that was literally like the same joke that everybody was making. I've heard comedians say, like, sometimes after, like, a current event, where, for example, when the American president, there was, an attempt on his life, a comedian would look on the Twitter thread and see, like, how far down, like, their joke was, right? To see, like, kind of, whatever. But you got to understand, you made the joke first that everybody else was making. So I just want to say kudos. But yeah, it reminded me of, like, it's the sample that everybody's chopping up and everybody wants to have in their song. I saw, like, it as like a breakup message, like, to a girlfriend,
Oh
obviously, like
god.
the scrolling Star Wars thing, like, that's what everybody was doing. My lord, was that funny.
Oh, it was I just was so confused by it too initially. I was like watching it and I'm like, "Oh, that's a big radio message." And then they just dropped and it like didn't even the box didn't even close off on the screen like it normally does. They lost the border of it because the message was so long. I'm like, "That is hilarious." And it was the first thing that popped to my mind. Which is part of why I really have enjoyed and for anyone else out there who's watching the races live, hop into the Discord. You can find it in our link tree. because it's fun to have those live conversations with people that we know and like to talk about F1 with. So it's fun to throw those right in there and see you guys seeing the messages and reading what you guys have to say throughout. So it's definitely fun.
Well, and here's the angle that like, okay, it's a long radio message. He's crashing out. It's hilarious. But what change is he talking about? What did the team do? Like, is this an inside job, dude? Okay. Do you remember? Do you remember in school? You know, you would take psychology 101, and they would show you that video of everybody dribbling a basketball, and they would tell you like, "Yo, count how many times they passed the ball," and you're like, "Okay, all right, there's one. All right, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, three." And then they're like, "How many times did they pass the ball?" You're like, 13. I nailed it. But then they ask you, "Did you see the gorilla that walked through the video?" And you're like, "Oh no, wait, where was the gorilla?" They play it again, and lo and
And it's just
behold,
like blatantly
there
obvious
was a
too.
gorilla. So I went back and I was like, "Damn, what did they do?" Because you know, the first time you watch it through, you're just counting. You're like, "Okay, here's a couple of pit guys. There's a pit gun. I count 4 tires. Yeah, where? What happened?" If you run it back, you can see Matteo Binotto with an anvil. He runs up to the back and straps it to the car and scurries off. That's what the problem was.
Crazy.
Like nobody even saw it. So I went back. I did the research. It's clear as day. You can see it right there.
Oh man, yeah, everyone's watching the wheel gun guys and they're like how fast was that pit stop? McLaren did a 1.9 second earlier and you're just like watching the timer, completely miss Mattia. That's crazy.
Exactly. With the anvil.
That's wild. I mean, and strong. Very impressive for Mattia there. But but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I definitely wanna talk about that a little more later because there are some theories on what happened with Leclerc's car. In my mind, I was like, did they like put on too much like wing and all of a sudden the car's like sliding around during the pits like after the pit stop or what was it? But yeah, that was definitely an interesting one. I feel like Leclerc and Ferrari have given us a lot of fun radio message memes this year. We've got "must be the water." We've got, oh, let's add that to the words of wisdom. We've got all these things going on. They are the gift that keeps on giving, even if it's not giving podiums every week. It's at least giving some humor. So that was a solid one. And then of course we had the video that I had sent you earlier. Isaac Hadjar, Liam Lawson getting to meet a live meme in person with Hide the Pain Harold just being at the race and on the paddock. So pre-race meeting up with and Isaac Hadjar looked like pumped. He's like, I am meeting a lot like a meme in real life. This is the best day ever. Like he looked so happy and it reminds me of and why I was bringing up all these Gen Z kids and their brain rotten memes with you before the episode. It is hilarious to see how much these young kids just love the internet memes compared to some of the older guys on the grid. They're like they're out of that world and seeing these young kids come in, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's crazy the difference in the like adoption of technology. You know, younger and younger. In our lifetime, we kind of came into it. They grew up with it. So yeah, and you just see that evidence in the yeah, Hide the Pain Herald, them enjoying him being at the race. Apparently, a Hungarian national is like a longtime Formula One fan as well. So like for
I had no
him,
idea.
it
That's sick.
yeah, like for him, it's like no thing to be at the race. Like that's what he does. That's
He's
what he
probably been
enjoys.
there. Yeah, he's probably
Yeah,
been there every
exactly.
year, and this is just the time that someone was like, "Wait a second."
Aren't you that guy?
Yeah,
Right. Dude, the other meme that I saw that was really funny is, and this was from the Lego race, but it's the like Fernando like goofily turning around,
Oh, with the
but
big head thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
with like the big head and the sunglasses on, he's like
Yep.
turning around all at like the DRS train behind him that he created. I was like, bro, that's
Oh,
so
that's
funny.
great.
The
That's so
troll
good.
like crash team racing Alonso, just like keeping everybody behind him.
That's a phenomenal like picture to just have saved for the group chat just periodically. I get that thrown in from some of my other buddies from college who like F1 that they'll
Hell
throw some of
yeah.
those in there. And it cracks me up every single time. So that's funny leading the DRS train. The old man whose back was not good enough for FP1. We had his reserve driver in and then comes out and just uh, toes everyone around the track lap after lap. It was pretty phenomenal.
But yeah, I thought some of the conversations around the race were particularly funny. Even not a great like overtaking race or whatever it is. At least the conversation around it was pretty fun, and I think that's just what we're trying to do with the around the water cooler segment. Is just bring in like maybe just some more of the fan conversations, maybe just some more of like the jokes and the lightheartedness that are being made around some of these like very like obviously from Leclerc's position, he's like very frustrated. He's having like a very real emotion there, right? But obviously, we all like to clown him. It's all in love. So I'm
Oh yeah.
told. But yeah, just that's just what we're trying to do with around the water cooler. So I hope you saw some of these memes and enjoyed them as much as we did. But yeah, I'm looking forward to doing some more of these. But before we get into the rest of the episode, I just want to take some time out to say thank you very much to the listeners. Thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you're enjoying the episode, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Yeah, and just let any friends and family who are motorsport fans know about the show. Yeah, we really appreciate you.
Yeah, and like I said just a minute ago, don't forget to join the Discord if you want to be in live while we're watching the races. We're sitting there with our phones ready to go, so we can message as stuff goes on. We'd love to have you guys be a part of that as well. So check out the link tree there. And back to the episode. So we've got the feeder series section this week. We had Formula 3 and Formula 2 both this week at the Hungarian Grand Prix as well. So the Formula 3, this is the second to last race of the season. They've got one more coming up here after the summer break. But with that said, this was a pretty big weekend in terms of the standings. We had Kamara, who had the ability to tie up the championship with a nice little bow for himself and clinch that. But in the sprint race, we had the pole sitter Intrapuvizak, who is starting on pole from the reverse grid, and then just looked very strong throughout the race. A really good drive from him, and especially at the very end, getting to have that last lap battle with Ugachukwu. Um, it was definitely a hard fought win for him, but a solid win for him in the sprint race.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the F3 sprint race. One thing that I thought was funny, like normally you don't hear the commentators taking a like light-hearted approach to any like shunt or crash or incident, but what I thought was interesting was like early on in the race there was an off like somebody got hit, went into the wall and slid forward, but instead of like commenting on the crash, the camera went to like the low cam in the grass with the car just like sliding forward. And so the commentator was like, does it take out the camera? Does it take out the camera? And as it slams into the cam and it just like cuts to black and then they have to like shift over. So I thought that was really funny where it's like we're not 100% sure that this guy is safe yet, and like we're like joking about the cameras.
Yeah,
Like
and
it caught me off, but like at the same time, you could kind of tell that everything was going to be okay. So fair play
Yeah,
to
it
him.
wasn't a super hard incident and everything, but
Hmm.
yeah, still nonetheless it was definitely kind of amusing seeing them looking at that camera angle and being like, "Oh, is it gonna happen?"
And mainly, I wanted to bring that up just to buy time so I could grab these two drivers' names. The one thing that I thought Inter really benefited from, because honestly, great race, controlled it like really well right from the start. But you saw Jay Headley and Jay Wharton battling it out. They were right behind him. They were P2 and P3. I think like right from the start. Those two were battling like crazy, just taking so much time away from each other. Inter could just keep the pace. He could just stay out ahead of him. He wasn't like too much further ahead of him throughout the race. So, the two guys were racing well, but I think them squabbling
Hmm.
almost kind of prevented their chances of like making it tougher for Incher who yeah drove a great race, but you just saw Wharton and Headley just going head to head the whole time. It was like for the first 10 laps before Ugachuku made his way up and started vying for those podium positions. But yeah, it was like 10 or 11 laps where these two were just battling it out, just letting Inch just get down the road. But great controlled drive from him in the sprint.
Yeah, and I think like I'll probably talk about this a little bit more, but it's becoming it's interesting because like now as I watch more and more of the F3, the F2 and everything, you really do get such a better feel for um how much the tire wear and these drivers keeping like you can't always tell when a driver is protecting their tires or whether maybe they're just taking better racing lines so their tires aren't sliding as much. They're maintaining that grip until later in these sprint races. But that's when it gets really fun, I feel like, in these F2 and F3 races when you see people later in the race who have been keeping their tires fresh, where Headley and Wharton are duking it out and like trying to get past each other, using up more of their tires to keep those positions. And then you see a guy like Uguchuku or Charlie Wirtz who just kind of make their way up through a little bit later because they've just hung on to those tires, held their ground. Um, and you see that a little bit in you don't see as big of a difference, I think, in F1, but even in that, you're seeing the guys kind of hang outside the dirty air to maintain a little bit of distance, not overheat their tires before they make another attack and everything. So kind of easing off. Um, but yeah, that battle, I feel like in seeing those battles throughout the races really have emphasized to me how important it can be to maybe not do that, hold position a little bit, like try and be a little more careful with your tires.
Yeah, and it's like a small element that I think falls under the umbrella of driver skill when they talk about, how good any one driver is at quote unquote tire management. That's like a section of it, knowing how much you can attack or defend in any given stint before you'll lose competitiveness overall in the stint, right? And that
Yeah.
has to be just a very fine edge to try and run. So yeah, fair play to him. You heard similar radio messages with a similar idea from Isaac Hadjar later in his second stint, I believe it was. His radio engineer is like, surging him forward. He's just made like three overtakes. He had to battle with one of them, and his guy's like, yeah, only a couple more seconds down the road. And Isaac's like, mate, like my tires are gone. I just made three overtakes. Like I can't do it. So yeah, there's that sense there where it's like I've already worked them. I did what they could do. So yeah, tire management definitely big, and it's these moments like you're alluding to that kind of gives you a lens into how these drivers are having to think about those scenarios.
Yeah, and the cars being on such a similar playing field and everything, like I think that is part of why in those lower series it really highlights that so significantly. Um, but to move over into the feature race here, we had a rainy day for the F3 feature race, so rolling start. Uh, Kamara on pole, his fifth pole of the year. So obviously having a pretty excellent season leading the championship, but it was a pretty difficult race, I would say, for just, I mean, everyone up and down the field. A lot of contact throughout the race. We had multiple virtual safety cars and things coming out, or at least like yellow flags and all. Shia knocks out Ugachuku in the wet conditions. There's just kind of all of this chaos going on, but Kamara being at the front of the field, he's got no spray in front of him. He's got the easiest job after doing that work to put the car on pole. So a really, really solid day for him to come home there in P1 with his fourth feature race win of the season.
Yeah, and it wasn't free either. I think there were three restarts, or like the main start and then two restarts, right?
Yeah.
So there was a good chunk of time where the racers behind were given an advantage to, catch him off the line again effectively, right? So he had to run away from three restarts to secure that and clinch that championship, which is mighty exciting. So yeah, fair play to it's Raphael is his first
Mm,
name.
yeah,
Raphael.
Rafael Camaro.
Rafael Camara, Brazilian driver as well. And then just another interesting statistic about the F3 championship in general can, give you a sense of, who some of the front runners are. This will be three in a row for the Trident Racing team in FIA Formula 3. So yeah, they've got some chops for sure. Winning a whole lot, and Rafael Camara doing work down there. He's got one race to kind of victory lap around and see who is going to be second and third on the podium next to him at the end.
Yeah, well, and the team standings are still not officially tied up either. Trident is out there, yeah, with the lead, but I mean, it's only 19 points. So there's with three drivers per team. Campos has had some pretty strong weekends, but um I'm interested to see because Mary Boya is now who finished P2 in the race in the feature race is up there in P2 in the championship as well. So very strong kind of surge from their side. Nicholas Solov as well up there. So definitely a little bit more to play for before we get here to the end of the F3 season in Monza when we're back. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. But yeah, Kamara has had a just phenomenal season with the feature race wins and has just looked very, very strong. So I'm excited to see now. Kind of one of my things to keep an eye on is now knowing these drivers a little bit better, knowing the names, seeing where these drivers are promoted to or which drivers are promoted up into Formula 2 and where they end up. So I'll be keeping an eye out for that. I'm sure not too far down the road we'll get some of that news. But just with not every team having an F2 team like Trident does have an F2 team, but they're currently last in the championship. So maybe Kamara coming in will make that difference for them, but it'll be interesting to see if they all stay in the same organizations coming up through.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see, how far some of these guys can make it. We've talked recently about maybe some of the lanes in the Formula One being closed right now. The cycle seems to be off for the younger class of like the skill drivers that would be coming up through, like, like a Fornaroli or a Rafael Camara or whatever. So likely they'll be looking. Obviously their goal is going to be F1, but will that happen? Who knows? But yeah, like you said, interested to see where some of these individuals go, particularly like Solov, a Rafael Kamara, and some of these names. So yeah, it'll be fun to follow their careers. Maybe we'll see them in Formula 2 and maybe some other series.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe in a couple years we'll have more contracts that are coming up. We'll have Cadillac, who's been in the field for a little bit. Audi will have taken over Kick Sauber. So you never really know what might shake things up in terms of those driver lineups. But at least for the upcoming year, I don't see too much movement going. Um,
Red Bull
but
might buy another spot on the grid. 24 drivers on the grid now.
you never know that Red Bull buys the new team that the Chinese team that one MBS wants to add in to have 12 teams on the grid. So
Jesus, dude, stop, man. The black pill. Get out of here, bro. It was a nice conversation until you said all that.
come on, just get Lindblad out there, throw Dunn out there with them. The two of them were on track plenty together this weekend. I'm sure that would be
At what cost, though? At what cost?
I mean, it would be great to see some of these younger drivers have those opportunities, but sometimes that's the way she goes. But
Sure.
looking here at the F2 weekend, we had the sprint race where similarly, kind of what we were talking about in F3 and all, Lindblad and Marty were both fighting it out pretty early on, which really kind of caused them both to struggle a little bit later. Marty holds on to take the win with Alex Dunn getting very very close to snatching it away on the last lap there. But I watching Lindblad and Marty fight it out early. One had to be insanely stressful for their team. Campos's two drivers like really going at it back and forth for like multiple laps. Lindblad definitely did a number on his tires in all of that fighting, and I feel like that was a big part of him falling back and then falling off the podium there in the sprint race. Just not quite able to keep his tires strong enough at the end after all the punches he was throwing early on.
Yeah, and that was obviously the highlight of the race, just seeing the two Campos drivers going head to head. And this was my big note for the F2 feature race as well. You know, I'll just lump it in here. Was just watching Lindblad drive, like, bro, if you think about it maybe like just a little more strategically than just like, oh, this guy just goes for it. It feels like where some other drivers may like consider a 50-50 not that good, he'll go for what he sees as possibly like 50-50 moves, or maybe even like slightly less favored in his position.
Yeah.
But he seems to have, and this might just be the way that he sets up his car. It could be like a driver profile as well, but he has pretty solid car control. He's got
Mm-hmm.
what seems to be like a twitchier setup than some of the other racers. So he uses that. He tends to have a pretty aggressive racing style. So yeah, for the feature race and the sprint race, that was like my standout. It was just watching him overtake, watching him race on track, and specifically the battle with Pepe Marti. Those two were going at it. Like you said, it was like 8 or 9 laps of them just head to head, overtaking each other, the over unders, just trying to get the advantage. So yeah, that was like I said, the best part about the F2 weekend for me.
Yeah, and and I think I understand it from him a little more in the sprint race there, outside of it being your teammate that you're fighting, than in the feature race, because I get that if you get that position P1 early enough, then you have the clean air, you can manage your tires a bit better and like take the racing lines you want to and everything. So it does make it easier in that instance. But yeah, in the feature race, he and I think it was him and Ollie Gertha. I think that's how you say it. That one always trips me up. Um, but the two of them going back and forth, seeing the Red Bull Juniors. There's like one part where three different Red Bull Juniors with the two of them, and I think Intrapuvazak. Maybe we're all like right by each other on the or not Intrapuvazak. Trying to think who the third Red Bull Junior was. I guess it would be Marty Lindblad, and Goethe. Um, but seeing them all out there kind of duking it out on the same section of track and all was pretty entertaining. Um, but yeah, in that feature race, we have the rolling start, couple of DNFs and virtual safety cars and everything. But the other big highlight, Fornaroli, who is just going on a tear as of late, uh, wins the feature race there. He gets past his teammate Roman Stanek. He gets a 5 second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but then still is able to put that gap on his teammate, finishing more than 5 seconds ahead to take the win there and extend his lead in the drivers' championship. Um, a pretty nice, uh, nice amount of leeway he has now. 17-point lead over Jack Crawford here in the drivers' championship.
Yeah, great feature race performance from Fornaroli. Pretty sure that's his first feature race victory in this season.
I think
So
so.
yeah, not just getting the sprints, but now adding a full length race to his record trophy cabinet, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, solid performance from Fornaroli. I would have loved to see more on track battling between Versure, at the time, his main rival,
Mm.
on track. There was like a small overlap window where Versure and Fornaroli on their sprint race plan were like near each other on track. They were like within a couple
Mm.
of positions. They weren't really in a position to race each other, which was unfortunate because you would love to see that. Like
Oh
whoever
yeah.
comes out on top is getting more points, right? But now, like you said, now it's Crawford in P2 with very few points paying opportunities to close on Fornaroli. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, we've got I think it's four race weekends left to go still in the F2 calendar. But a very exciting championship battle there now. Um, and one of the things that I thought was pretty cool from this weekend was the top 8 in the drivers championship all had decent like points weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Lindblad had 8 points. Marty had 12. Dunn had 10. Browning had 12. 13 for Versure. Like a couple of them had their standouts with Stanek picking up 20 with his P2 and Crawford getting points in both races and Fornaroli, of course. But like everyone is keeping themselves in the hunt there, which is pretty impressive. I feel like a lot of times we'll see a weekend where one of those top guys or more will just have a goose egg on the weekend and then falls way down in the standings. But all of these guys are keeping that battle alive.
Yeah, really solid and pretty competitive, especially near the top. But like you're saying, a good amount of points spread, indicating all these racers are pretty well matched. Just having likely strengths in like different aspects of racing, depending on what the track is demanding. These types of small differences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, four race weekends left, still a decent number of points to play for. So, nothing is decided yet, but a lot of excitement left to go in Formula Two there. Um, and then moving over to Formula One, before we get fully into the race here, we've got a hot seat episode for the Hungarian Grand Prix this week.
Yeah, in this episode, I had to do a little bit of self reflection, a little bit of soul searching, and I realized I don't know the Hungarian Grand Prix that well. I feel like it kind of just like washes over me in like a weird like, well, yeah, not really drawing out anything really memorable or specific if I would try and recall it in my mind. So, when I went back, I didn't try and pull out some like weird, obscure facts or whatever. I was like, hey, let me just learn about Hungary. Like, where even is it on the map? Like these types of things I wanted to learn.
Okay.
So, Aaron, we're gonna see if we can get you 5 from 5. For the folks playing at home, we got 5 questions, 3 multiple choice answers each, and we're gonna put Aaron in the hot seat and see how well he can do. Aaron, are you ready?
Yep, let's go.
All right, very cool. So, question number one: Hungary, a country nestled in a lowland basin of the Danube River, dominated by Great Plains. The beautiful capital of which has hosted the F1 race here 41 times since 1986. What's the capital of Hungary? Is it A, Pex? Is it B, Budapest? Or is it C, Győr?
That would be B, Budapest.
We are learning. You are correct, sir. It's Budapest. A beautiful city, by the way. Pretty sure separated by the Danube River. I was kind of overtaken by the architecture. It's got the classic like very acute spires upward, with many little crosses atop them. So yeah, beautiful city. I was like, oh man, Budapest actually looks like a great place to visit. Question number two. Due to narrow, twisting, and often dusty conditions of the track, this leads to a lack of what on race day? Is it A, pace, B, safety cars, or C, overtaking?
I would say C, overtaking.
You are correct, sir. In modern eras, they call it the Monaco without walls. I'm sure you've heard it a million times this weekend. Question number three. Many drivers have gotten their maiden victories here over the years, some who have gone on to win championships. How many drivers on the grid today got their first win here? Is it A, 3, B, 2, or C, 1?
Hmm. I'm gonna go B2.
Incorrect. It
Ah,
is Oscar Piastri, Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso.
I had Fernando and Ocon. I didn't realize Piastri's first win was in Hungary.
Last year,
Yeah,
2024. So very close, very close. He knew the off one. Where did Ocon win at? He has
yep.
one race win. Where did it happen? Aaron knows. No worries. Okay, question number four. Wild scenes in 2021 after a crash at the start of the race. This driver was the only one to take the restart at the grid. Was it A, Valtteri Bottas? Was it B, Charles Leclerc? Or was it C, Lewis Hamilton?
That was C, Lewis Hamilton.
Very nice. Very nice.
One of
You are
the best F1 picture, like out of context F1 pictures out there.
just him alone sitting on the
Yep,
grid with the lights going. You're like, wait, did they Photoshop all the cars out? It's like, no, they're in the pits.
yep. Crazy.
Wild scenes. But yeah, if you would have asked me before this weekend, I would have told you that was like a British Grand Prix or like a something else. I would have
Mm,
had no clue. But
yeah,
now we know that was Lewis Hamilton in 2021. Yo, that was Valtteri that went bowling into turn one. Go
yep.
back and watch that. It's insane, actually. It's
I
it's crazy.
I've seen it too many times because you took out
Okay,
my boy.
your boy, yeah, for
My
sure.
boy.
Dude, he almost like runs over Leclerc's head. Dude,
Oh
it's like
my
a horror
god.
scene. It's a horror scene.
He
Okay.
flew in there, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Last question, question number 5. You've done okay so far. In 2022, after a legendary drive, this racer gets their first win at this circuit, taking the victory after qualifying P10. Was it A, Lando Norris? Was it B, Max Verstappen? Or was it C, Charles Leclerc?
I'm gonna I'm gonna go B Max Verstappen.
You are correct, sir. It is B, Max Verstappen. P10 qualifying on like the first 2 laps, he just overtakes everybody and they're just all behind him. He's like, all right, that was fun.
I feel like even this weekend that was kind of the best opportunity for drivers to get overtakes, like you said with Hadjar. Like if you can get it done, it's when those tires are super fresh. DRS is not enabled to get you stuck in a DRS train, but I will say the biggest thing, and similarly to you, there's a lot that I don't remember about the Hungarian Grand Prix. I think part of it being that Monaco without walls, where you can not you don't see as many overtakes, as many typically crazy races, but the turn two into turn three, that little like cutback and everything is like ingrained in my memory because the double DRS, or I guess it's yeah, that's, or is that turn one into turn two? I think it's two into three,
I
technically.
think you're right. I think
Okay,
you're right.
yeah. I was second guessing myself there. But yeah, that just little portion of track is like burned into my brain from the angle that they always show it sweeping around through to that little hairpin there. But yeah, 4 out of 5, not too bad for this week's hot seat.
No, no, that's not bad at all. Yeah, this one was really fun to put together. Yeah, going back and getting to watch that 2021 start was just like absolute treat. I was like, "Oh my lord, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right." Dude, one of the craziest starts. Yeah, just getting to go back and recap that was like just worth it in and of itself. Happy, nobody was hurt, obviously.
Oh
Like that's
yeah,
the only reason we're
absolutely.
like where we can joke about it now. But yeah, just hilarious stuff. But yeah, we want to get into the Formula One Hungarian Grand Prix race weekend, but we want to do it in maybe a little bit of a different style. What? I'm gonna come on here and say my winner is Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, and my loser is the guy that crashed out and whatever. Right? Like we kind of know who won the race at this point. Me and Aaron talked about it. Most of these teams, they've confirmed live that, like, yeah, this is the car until the end. We're focusing on next year, right? There's a good number of teams that have come out and said that just point
Yeah.
blank.
I mean, we've even seen Mercedes come out and say that they're going back to a previous spec floor and things like that just for comfortability. Like
Right.
they're not making new progress on these cars at this point.
Which kind of tells us, reading between the lines, is these standings may be what we're looking at for the rest of the year, and the glimmer of like competitive racing is going to come from, Lando v Oscar, barring something crazy happening, and one or two of these other drivers getting in the mix, depending on how good of a car Ferrari can give them, or like is Max's setup like good for the weekend? Like these are effectively the only questions we have left. So with all this being said, we wanted to take maybe a different approach. So I came to Aaron and I said, "Hey, let me just spin some of these stories up, and let's see if we can just kind of make it funny and entertaining." So let's just get right into it now that you understand the little bit of the setup, a little bit of the idea behind our new salacious headline segment. So let's just start off with the main joke everybody's been saying. Everybody's coming down. It's very in vogue, you could say, to be making fun of Lando Norris. So here's a headline for you. This is at the top. This is front page. Lando Norris bottles the sweet taste of victory. Aaron, tell me what your thoughts on this headline is.
I mean, I think it's a great headline because just looking at the race weekend, that is kind of one of the really what made this race so interesting was seeing these drivers, particularly the two McLarens, on different tire strategies. However, yeah, Lando's was not on purpose. He starts out in P2, he drops down to P5, or no, he starts out in P3, drops down to P5 on the first lap. Just he struggles with those starts sometimes. And I mean, sometimes he's phenomenal, but other times he struggles with that more often than I'd say most drivers do. Tumbles down to P5, and now he's kind of in a weird position. The team has Oscar cover off Leclerc's pit stop to try and get the undertake done there, and everything, or the undercut done for that there, to get Oscar up into clean air ahead of Leclerc. Doesn't pan out immediately, but Lando's now in a position where he has to kind of do something different if he's going to have any shot. His team engineer, race engineer Will Joseph comes on the radio. Very brief, very short message. Hey, we can go for the one stop here, try and get you back into it. Lando says, yep, let's do it. If that's my only shot, then let's have at it. And ends up being the faster strategy on the day. It was something that had been kind of, it sounds like, bounced around, especially hearing in the post race show. Ruth Buscombe was talking about how all the teams were kind of bouncing around what is going to actually turn out to be the best strategy. The temperatures are colder than what we're used to. What can we do here? But yeah, Lando, and I will say this is also just one of those. It's a poorly timed safety car for Oscar and a great timed safety car for Lando. Sometimes the luck just comes your way. You're in a tougher spot, and this is kind of why earlier in the year I gave Ferrari a really hard time one weekend because or no, actually I think I gave McLaren a really hard time one weekend against Ferrari because they just decided, hey, we're going to do the same exact thing for both of our drivers. We're not going to try and offset this strategy at all. So I appreciated them coming up with a secondary option, especially after telling Lando, hey, plan A -5. Like, we're going to pit 5 laps earlier than we expected because of the tire deg and everything, to then have him stay out there, run a really really solid stint on the medium tires before switching to the hards for the rest of the race and getting that victory. So I think that it is well captured there in that headline.
Yeah, and just a couple of thoughts on that. Yeah, part of it is the like Lando forever messing up his starts. You see it in his battles against Max, where oftentimes handing Max a victory, even when he's like P1 or P2 against him, having like a close advantage. Making mistakes at the start costing him like large chunks of points, right? One thing that I thought was interesting in the conversation was this notion of um Piastri getting like the short end of the stick, and Lando getting like the favorable call. I'm curious, is that like, do you think that's coming from the perspective of like the team is choosing, or do you see it as, because the way I think about this is both sides of the garage are like against each other, right? I think Oscar's trying to or I think Lando's trying to beat Oscar. Oscar's garage is trying to beat Lando. I'm curious, do you think it's less of like a like favorable strategy? And wasn't Piastri just like fighting two fronts, right? Like he had to think about the Leclerc race as well. So do you think it was just on the McLaren pit wall, or do you think there was some element of like Piastri was a bit like overburdened in how like in who he was fighting?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it definitely isn't favoritism in my opinion. Like looking at it and everything, I don't think that um I think it's very clear in this instance that it was not some sort of manipulation from the team, or they weren't inventing, as Carlos Sainz would say. Um, it was just a situation of like, hey Lando, like you're in P5, P4, whatever it was at that point. Like your best bet to get back up towards the front is to try and do a one stop. Do you think you can do it? And Lando was like, hey, I'll give it a shot. Like he was just gung ho to try. And so whether it was team strategy, like side versus side, or just them going, hey, like this might be our best shot at this point because of the situation we're in. Let's go with that versus Ferrari going to plan E, F, G. It's kind of that same situation. They're like, okay, this is a situation where we're working on the fly. And I think just unfortunately for Oscar, like I said, kind of that like poorly timed safety car for him kind of effect where the one stop ended up being the better strategy. We saw that from a number of other drivers on the grid here, that panned out for a lot of folks. And I don't think everyone was anticipating it. They kind of ran the race that they intended to with Oscar, and it was just ended up being too tough for him to get past Lando at the end.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I think you raised a lot of good points there. Yeah, not an easy position for both drivers. But yeah, I think that was well explained. This next headline, we have a little bit of an opinion piece. Many people have been talking. Who's the rookie of the year? This editorial writer seems to think it might be one of the Kick Sauber drivers. They're saying Brazil, brace for impact. One of the races we have coming up is obviously Interlagos at Brazil. Gabriel Bortoleto is our resident Brazilian driver. I'm thinking that race is going to be electric, very similar to like a Sergio Perez in Mexico. These are the scenes that are coming in my mind when I'm thinking about Gabriel Bortoleto racing at home in Brazil. It's quite there's actually arguments on either side to be made who you believe the rookie of the year could be. Conversation around Isak Hadjar or Gabriel Bortoleto. Aaron, I'm curious who has more stock in that conversation for you.
I'd say currently I would go with Hajar, just based on the season as a whole and everything. But by the end of the season, that could very easily change. I mean, Bortoleto has scored points in 3 of his last 4 races now. He has looked just very, very competitive throughout qualifying. He is up by 2 races in the head-to-head qualifying with Nico Hulkenberg, who got his podium earlier this year and who I think very highly of. So Bortoleto's raw pace is definitely there. Kick Sauber has been on the upswing, so I think it really could come down to the wire there for that battle because Hajar has also, like I said, he's been qualifying super well. He gets another Q3 appearance here this week. He is ahead of his teammate in the championship still. He's just looked very strong, even with some bad luck thrown his way here and there. So currently I lean towards Hajar, but Bortoleto's definitely he's making it very competitive there. And with this weekend and his points, he is actually above Yuki Tsunoda now in the driver's standings as well. So yeah, just a strong little run that we've had from Bortoleto over the past few races now.
The recency bias premium here for Gabriel Bortoleto is crazy. The double in the points finishes back to back is just like wickedly impressive. I think the steady upward trajectory, is definitely an eye catching feature here. Definitely good points on both sides. The shout for Isak Hadjar no outs in Q1 that kind of tipped my hat to where your mind might be. But yeah, dude, the one thing I don't think I'll ever forget about Isak Hadjar's career, and to be fair, I hope he goes far in Formula One because I doubt he will ever forget this. And the way he races is that he will not forget this. The Formula Two, I think it was the final race last year, him versus Bortoleto, where whoever finished ahead of the other was going to win the championship, and he got left on the grid. He did not even get to fight that battle, but he still made it to Formula One, and even through like like a really brutal start in Formula One. He's kept his head down. He's persevered. So I really appreciate that from Isak Hadjar. Cause yeah, dude, after that last race in F2, like what do you do, right? And my man just kept on pushing forward. So I can really appreciate that. But yeah. I don't know who I'd throw my hat in the ring for, but yeah, let's continue some of these headlines here. This one, this guy gets a lot of ire. So here we go. We've got NPC George has the gift of gab, maybe talking his way into a podium. What are your thoughts here, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to hear I guess how he talked his way into the podium as much like he's always there. You're in the line at the grocery store, you turn around, George Russell right behind you. You're in the drive-through at McDonald's getting your dinner, you look in your rearview mirror, George Russell. You're looking through your high school class rankings. Who's right behind you in the rankings? George Russell. He's there waiting for you to slip up, for you to make a mistake, and he's ready to swoop in and steal your fries, man. He is ready for a podium at all times, and it's just uncanny how consistently he puts himself into those positions. Like, I give George plenty of flack and everything, but man, he's a good driver. He puts himself in the best possible situation that he can in almost every instance, and he's been able to scoop up another podium this weekend from doing just that.
Yeah, I think quite impressive using his politicking skills as well as his overtaking skills, to get some points on track. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Yeah, his immediacy to hop on the microphone with an essay about what the other drivers are doing, and you have you have to appreciate drivers like vying for their side. Their best advocates are themselves, like, and their team. You understand that I understand this, right? But it
Mm-hmm.
is funny McLaren got the pit stop record. I think George has the onto the mic record with how fast his butt did. You feel
I
me?
mean,
That's all I'm saying.
absolutely. And I mean, I think his battle with Leclerc there towards the end was definitely a little dicey at moments. There was a late reaction or so from Leclerc. I thought it was more so the second attempt. The first attempt
I agree.
I didn't
The
see
second
much
was
there.
egregious.
The second one was pretty rough. And I just find it interesting. Like, he must have really just gotten a great view of that McLaren, or of that Ferrari from Leclerc for that second half of the race, because he and I personally think, I heard in one of his post race interviews, I think he knows the mystery issue with the Ferrari. I think he figured it out. Um, he was talking in one of the post race interviews and said that the he felt like the Ferrari started running a different engine mode because at the end of the high speed sections they were getting too much plank wear and could have had one of these disqualification things. So maybe he's seeing the sparks fly up from the bottom of the car, whatnot. But the solution to this, to ride height being too low for the car, is to put more air in the tires, have higher tire pressure to kind of lift the car up just that little tiny bit. Um, and that can completely throw off the feel of the car. It completely makes sense why Leclerc felt like all of a sudden the car was undrivable after that pit stop, that something just was not feeling comfortable or right. And it's probably because they were like, oh boy, like we might be in trouble here. We've gotta do this to at least save our position and avoid a disqualification. Um, but yeah, I think George, obviously he's a smart cookie, but yeah, his um all chat is pretty pretty on the nose. He's ready to roll.
Let's go. That's very funny. And then the last headline that we have for you. This one, yeah, this one, take it or leave it. Might be like cooked medium, maybe well done here. But we have one of these awkward possible infraction on track. We're gonna take a look later. We'll get back to you guys. I know this is your favorite event to happen at a race. So we've got Max and Lewis have a nothing burger here for lunch after they go to the stewards.
Yeah, and I just find it I found it so amusing, like the all the different reactions that you hear. But the my like you said, my biggest issue is like I definitely feel that this could have been decided during the race. I didn't think it had to go to the stewards afterwards. Lewis didn't seem to think it had to go to the stewards afterwards because he did not show up, and when asked about it, didn't remember it happening per what his response was. So I mean, we have the Red Bull side where Max is like, I just put my nose up on the inside of him and he got scared off the track. That's what Max and Red Bull are out there saying, and I personally felt like that to some extent. Like it was a weird place to try and overtake. I felt like Max put his nose in there. Lewis was like, "Oh, what? Why are you there?" And it like threw him off a little bit. I don't know if Max would have made. Max was like, "I had the car in control. I would have left him space, but he went off the track, so I just took the racing line," kind of thing. Um, I don't know how accurate that was. I did know that I felt like there was going to be something when I saw Max coming up on Lewis on track. I was like, these guys don't like to give each other an inch, but yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting result. And then also seeing all of the commentary around it. Sky Sports is talking about it being a slam dunk penalty on Verstappen. Martin Brundle's having these conversations about it. We've got Alex Brundle who's doing a race post show breakdown of the incident and everything, and then Lewis doesn't even show up for the decision. And it's like it it didn't make any difference. And I think my only other kind of point from this, and this is what coming from James Hinchcliffe, who was on the broadcast this week from coming over from IndyCar, but I I can understand he had some frustration about these penalties that meant nothing. Basically, I think Kimi Antonelli had a penalty, but he had a big enough gap that the penalty didn't impact him in his finishing position. Similar here with Max, whether Max got a penalty there or not, he was far enough ahead that he was not going to lose any positions with a 10-second penalty, which is what they probably would have handed out if anything. Um, so Hinch was pretty annoyed. He's like, it should be a one position penalty versus a like 10-second penalty or anything like that, which I find interesting. I don't hate that for especially for those weird instances that we have where I'm like, you took another guy completely out of the race and then you go on to finish in the points or have a good weekend.
Yeah,
Um,
but we gave him a 5 second penalty.
Yep, 5 second penalty, a little slap on the wrist. I think that that would be an interesting thing to be part of the conversation. But yeah, I think both drivers kind of continued on their way here in this situation, and I think they're both continuing on their way here to the summer break to just go relax and not think about this weekend for a bit.
Maybe even the drivers just kind of forget about the Hungarian Grand Prix too. Maybe they're just like, oh yeah, it's just like, yeah,
Which
it's
is
one of the European rounds, man.
Hard to imagine though for Lewis, who's had like 9 pole positions, 8 wins, like the most.
Uh,
It's his biggest track, and I think he was just. I will say, I really my heart was breaking a little for Lewis this weekend because after qualifying, his post qualifying interview where he was just like, the car's on pole position. I'm P13. He's like, I am the problem. Like, they should get a new driver. I'm horrible. I was like, Lewis, like, you're none of those things. Like,
right.
you are the current like goat. I can't, like, I mad respect to you, and I hate seeing even when Lando does it to himself too. I don't like these drivers really like ragging on themselves too much. Like, it was a very sad Lewis Hamilton this weekend, and so hopefully the summer break he'll come back refreshed, and Ferrari won't just suck what life he has left out of him.
Yo, he needed Isak Hajar's dad to come over and be like, "Hey, man, like it's okay. Like, don't worry about it, man. It's okay."
Yeah. He needed something. He needed some sort of pick me up this race weekend, uh but yeah, some pretty interesting headlines. I thought that was a fun little section, and I will say you did a phenomenal job coming up with these headlines and the way you blended in the story. I was extremely impressed when I was reading them and saw what you had put together there. I felt like they um comprised like every part of those conversations very well. So kudos to you, sir.
Well, I will hope to keep them coming. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was really fun to put together. I think just like a nice, just different angle that we can take to just talking about the main meat of a race, but just maybe from a different perspective. So yeah, I appreciate the shout out because it was just as much fun to put together. So I hope everyone listening enjoys that. I'm curious. Yeah, we hit a lot of the elements here. Was there any like final thoughts? Any teams or drivers you wanna kind of stick a pin in and kind of look at?
I mean, I think that the biggest other note was just with the McLaren angle and between Oscar and Lando. Um One, Oscar gets that, like, he's trying to get back, he's trying to catch Lando, he put on a heater of a tire stint at the end of the race there to with after the 1.9 second pit stop. They're like, go get him, boy. And uh, that was, seeing a pit stop that fast, it is so noticeably quick on the broadcast. Like, it just is so smooth and incredibly like cool to watch. Even like a 3 second pit stop seems like an eternity compared to that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a decent pit stop. But um what were your thoughts, I guess, on Oscar and his driving at the end of the race there? He locks up. He almost, I was very close in the Discord to being like, watch the McLarens run into each other, and George not just inherits a podium, he inherits a win. Like when Max and Lando collided at the no, at the Red Bull Ring, I think it was,
Oh
at the
yeah, if like
Austrian Grand Prix.
Oscar does what Lando did to him, or
Yeah,
Lando did to himself.
exactly. Like, I that was it was very tight there. Um and what were you thinking, I guess, watching those last couple laps? It was edge of the seat for me.
Dude, I was just thinking zero point 0.7 seconds a lap and then like to close within DRS. It's like those are the types of hunts that I think Formula 1 fans everywhere can appreciate. That's what you want. Even if they can't get the overtake done, like you are you're almost just cheering for the racing in general. Like you don't care who wins. You can just see both drivers. They're on the limit. They're pushing as hard as they can. They're both going for it. Neither one is like pulling any punches. So yeah, I think that's just the racing that everybody comes out for. Yeah, and like it wouldn't be exciting if if they don't get close to each other, right? But yeah, that lockup
Yep.
at the end from Piastri pretty much seals the deal, right? His tires looking like a Rubik's cube, effectively. So yeah, I a very very exciting final stint. Yeah, I think if you're like a diehard McLaren fan, you're maybe like watching through your eyes, but you're definitely still watching through your fingers. You know what I meant. But yeah, you're definitely still watching.
Yeah, no, it was very exciting. I was impressed by just how quickly Piastri caught him, and but it was just one of the same thing. Like it's tough to pass around there. You have to have, I think, over a second, they said, in pace differential to actually get past someone
Sure.
at the Hungaro rate. So even with DRS, which gives you 5/6 of a second down the main straight and everything, you really have to have a big tire delta. That's one of the things that I was kind of interested to see what McLaren did with Oscar's last stint there. I was curious if they were gonna put him on like the medium tires, because I knew earlier in the race, some of the teams had talked about the medium tire, and I think a few of the teams that did the two stop went medium hard, and so the second medium tire stint being like, they were talking about some of the guys who were at the back of the grid running at the same pace as what the McLarens were doing out front and everything. So that was one of the things that crossed my mind, to potentially give that tire differential a little bit more of a oomph at the end. But I don't know if it would have made enough of a difference. But very exciting finish to the race there.
Yeah, definitely agree. And like, yeah, just as exciting. It like to me, it's not even about them like being on the same team. Like that really effectively has nothing to do with it. It is. It's just like two drivers in the hunt for the championship. Yeah, I don't think it gets much better than that. But yeah, you said the Hamilton just kind of like battling in the midfield, just like pretty despondent in that regard. Yeah, the other thing that was crazy is like Aston Martin
Yeah,
double
that was
cars in the points.
yep.
It's like, man, like how far is this going to go? Every probably for every weekend except the last two, you and I have just been like, what's an Aston Martin? Who are they? Are they the ones in the green shirts? Like it's been that kind of feeling. But now it's like, oh man, I was looking at some of the tracks to see are there any that are going to be similar to Hungary like coming up. We have Qatar and Brazil, I think would be pretty strong contenders. Like if this like twisting track is what's suiting them, maybe circuit that has a lot of wheel action, right? Like you're always manipulating the steering wheel here at the Hungaro ring. So I was looking for similar circuits. We have Qatar and Brazil, where the track has a similar kind of complexion or setup, you could say. So yeah, these were some tracks that we may see Aston Martin have similar results now that they have this apparently just the God floor package they've been gifted. Has like totally changed their performance levels.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing that will really make this interesting is, and it always does, and it's something that we enjoy, but there being multiple tire strategies available. Like this weekend, the Aston Martins both went on the one stop strategy, and it worked out because of how difficult it is to pass there. Like Alonso was milking his tires and hanging on to them for dear life, like go taking it nice and easy through the sections that are harder to pass. But then when he has those straights, he's just leading the DRS train lap after lap. Um, and he just knows how to drive that situation well. So I think in these instances where the one stop depending on what like the C3, C4, C5, what level of tires they bring to a race weekend. If there's that potential for both strategies to be viable, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Aston Martins do that again, because it seems like, well, Alonso can just keep his tires going for forever. So I think that was a huge part of their improvement this weekend. But that new floor, I think they are getting better data, a little more comfortability with the car. But yeah, that was just great strategy call. Liam Lawson similarly had the one stopper, finished ahead of Max there. Bortoletto did the one stopper, so there were about half the grid, it seems, that did the one stop strategy, and it seemed to pan out pretty decently.
Yeah, that's a great point about teams maybe being brought into competitiveness if a range of strategic options are available. Yeah, that's a great point. We'll look forward to seeing if Aston Martin can capitalize, at any future weekends. Because yeah, it's been fun to see at least Fernando Alonso like being competitive or at least being able to take an interesting approach to the race, right? Not just being okay. He's in
Yeah.
the back somewhere.
Yeah, in the midfield, I think that's the other exciting part is like with these different strategies, it becomes a huge game for or a huge team game for these midfield teams, because if one team does get that strategy right and the other team doesn't, that could be make or break in the constructors championship. Aston Martin's 1 point ahead of Kick Sauber now. They're Aston Martin or Kick Sauber 6 points ahead of Racing Bulls. Haas is not that far behind. Williams is not that far clear in the distance, and they've struggled a little bit this year. So yeah, there's just a lot that could still happen and shake up in that midfield pack, which is gonna be one of those really exciting things to watch for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. But yeah, we have a long break here. For Formula One. I think it's going to be at this point. I think it's like two and a half weeks of a break, and we'll be racing again. I believe the weekend of the 29th to like the 31st or whatever. So I think the
Yep.
last week of the month. So yeah, it's going to be a long time without Formula One. It's going to be a long time without a Tired Boys episode. But thankfully, we have the cooldown laps still to do before we leave you for a little bit of a summer break. So Aaron, let's get into the end of the episode here.
Sounds like a plan, but I'll start off with just a mini update. The I am now out of album recommendations from people, so I need some more feedback from you
Ready for the second
listeners.
round.
Or you guys, you John, any other listeners who want to give me some albums that you think are really highly of or you really enjoyed to check out, because I did get through Brave Faces Everyone by Spanish Love Songs. I really enjoyed the album. It's a pop punk emo album. It has a lot of similar energy and music to a lot of music that I have listened to over the years. My college, well, longtime friend, college roommate Shane at college was where he really kind of helped open my eyes to a lot of the pop punk scene and music that's out there. So this fell right in line with some of my music that I enjoy. So it was definitely a solid album. I listened to it while I was uh, installing some ceiling fans for one of my residents at work over the weekend. So I was just like, they weren't home. I just had it bopping along on my phone while I'm just getting to work, and so I enjoyed giving that a listen and appreciate that recommendation from John. Um, but to move over into the rose, thorn, and seed this week for the cool down lap, my rose this week is that I have continued my running after I did the 5K and everything. I took about a week off to just let my body recover a little bit. And so I did a 5 mile run yesterday. I felt very, very good. I got out in the morning before it was like while it was still nice and cool out. I knocked out a 5 mile run before the race, which was nice. I felt very productive with my morning and everything. So it just felt good to get out there. I'm not having the knee pain and different issues that I've run into here and there. I think because I'm giving myself enough rest and recovery and all in between. Um, so definitely a rose, and I'm now starting to look out to the horizon and see what other races I might want to put on the calendar to keep that motivation going. Um, but my thorn this week is just some tough situations that have come up at work. This I had to deal with a situation where someone's dog bit another person at the property. Everyone was okay. It wasn't a as big as the 8 p.m. Sunday night email made it seem. So I was glad, but still took up a bit of my day having to write incident reports and go through all of that, like get everyone's statements about what happened, just for the person who got bit to be like, yeah, I'm doing okay. It's fine. So there's that, and then we've just had an influx. I don't know if a full moon is coming around soon, but we have had a few very interesting prospective tenants recently. This one woman who she calls just about yearly, with the same stories, sleeps with her head wrapped in tinfoil because of the 5G radio waves messing with her ability to sleep, and asking all kinds of interesting questions about the wires in the buildings and things like that, taking up a decent chunk of time over the phone. Having another lady who had stayed with us short term previously and made the apartment they stayed in disgusting. Her son was smoking weed in the apartment. There were just it's a non-smoking property, and all the just not someone that I would want to come back. And fortunately, I don't have anything available to rent to her. So a couple of those things that I could brush off. But yeah, it's been an interesting little stretch here at work for the past week or two.
Damn, dude, just it's so funny. You saying like tinfoil hat because of the 5G, that literally puts a picture of like a person that I've met in real life in my brain, and that just makes me laugh. It's like, oh my God, there's more of them. That's so
Oh
crazy.
yeah, and she is fully serious. That's not me
Yeah,
making a joke about
yeah,
her having these conspiracy theories. She has told me on the phone, and like I said, she calls yearly. So I've heard her for like 3 years in a row. She called, oh, your property looks so beautiful online. I don't really know where it is, but I think I'd be interested. Do you have fiber optics in the building? Do you have coax cables in the walls? The coax cables and the radio waves and the 5G, they just give me super bad migraines, so I have to sleep with my head wrapped in tinfoil. And I'm like, all right.
dude, you just said we have so many coax cables and so many fiber
Well, we
optics. You
gen
have no
we
idea,
genuinely do, and I've told
right?
her that year after year, but she keeps on calling every time her
She
lease
thinks
is
she'd be
coming up.
interested.
Whenever her lease is coming up, wherever she is, she starts to look at the different options out there, and we're
Sure.
always on that list. So yeah, I mean, some more humorous things, but it can be a little tough here and there at work with you're working with people, and people all have their own unique intricacies. Um, but my seed for this week, even though we're going on to a little summer break here of Formula One, we're going to be missing doing the podcast. I am looking forward to the upcoming weekend because it will be Colleen and my 1 year anniversary from our wedding. A year has gone by. It's crazy uh, how fast it seems to have gone, or how much it just feels like yesterday. But we're gonna take a nice little weekend trip up to New York and just enjoy that, eat some good food, go see a show, and I'm very much looking forward to that this weekend.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yeah, me and Sarah are often just like, damn, that wedding was that long ago. Man, feels like it was just yesterday. I hope we don't have to do that again. Oh man, just trolling you, just trolling you. We don't say that at all. We had a lovely time. I often run out of a lighter fluid, so your marriage gift of the Matchbox, I take it out
Comes in
like once
handy.
every, yeah, like once every 5 months or so, and yeah, it
Love
comes in
it.
handy. So I'm thinking of that anniversary as well. So yeah, I hope you have a great trip. That sounds wonderful.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your rose, thorn, and seed here this week as well.
All right, so my rose here is, a little bit of social media. There's a website called Letterboxd. It
Okay. Yep.
is a website that users can go on and track and review the movies that they've seen, and through, tracking and reviewing what movies you've seen, you may be able to encounter maybe a new movie that you would like to see, by checking out other people's accounts and seeing what they're like watching and reviewing. I was shown this by a buddy who enjoys. It seems like he enjoys a good amount of films over the year, and we have recently got to talking about a few of them. I've recommended him films. He's recommended me films, and we've chit chatted about them. A couple I would have talked about here on the pod. So yeah, my rose is just the recent sharing of films. For so long, I felt like maybe I was in some little bit of an echo chamber where people are like encountering things, but maybe like it's not being shared or talked about in some way, and it's like, oh, like what are you watching? What are you listening to? And with you asking about the albums, there's obviously more of this going on. People around us are sharing, what kind of art they've been into, what kind of movies they've been checking out, and these things. So I've really been enjoying the conversations about the movies and the music and things like this, because in the off time of watching races and doing my work, these are the things I like to spend my time with. Just encountering fun stories. And Letterbox is one way that I've been able to do that. So that's just been like a great boon in my life recently. So very fun. Kind
Nice.
of in that same angle, I have a thorn here that will ultimately bloom into something beautiful, I'm sure, because I've already enjoyed my time. But I'm in some ways being forced to read the Dune novels
I'm reading them.
before. Okay, okay,
Yeah.
very cool. I'm being forced to read the Dune novels as spoiler protection, like from Thorin, who I want to continue in my movie pod, but they are about to roast the two Villeneuve adaptations of the novels. And
Mm.
Thorin says in one of the episodes, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, and I'm gonna spoil stuff from like books 3 or 4, buddy. So like, be
Oh gosh.
prepared." I'm like, bro, like I just want to
Yeah.
I don't want spoilers, so in some ways, to spite Thorin, I'm gonna read all of the Dune novels and then listen to their pod about the stupid first two Dune movies. So that's my trajectory with Dune, and this is why I know it will be just fun and a good thing. I've truly loved the first bit that I've read of the first book. So yeah, all in all, I don't think it's going to be a bad thing. I just thought you would find that a bit funny. Like
Oh yeah.
you know how Thorin is, and he's
Oh,
just like, yeah, I'm going to
100%.
spoil it all for you, motherfuckers. It's like,
At least
no,
he,
no.
at least he told you. I appreciate
Agreed.
that. But I will say I really enjoyed the first Dune book. I'm just starting the second one. The first one was like my version was like 800 pages or something like that, and I read all the
Sure.
appendices at the end and everything too. And
Okay. I think we have the same version then.
yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed it though. Have you seen the movies?
I saw both parts. I've seen part
Okay,
one once and part two, or no, I saw part one two times and part two one time is what I mean to say.
gotcha. Yeah, it's I love the amount of detail that it adds in the books to each of the characters, whether it's Baron Harkonnen or whether it's
Hmm.
Fade Rotha or any of those guys. So definitely enjoy that, and I think you'll have fun getting through it. But the other thing, if you want another letterboxed friend to add, you should hit up Tom. He is a huge movie guy, and so his letterboxed is pretty bonkers with the amount of films he's watched and rated. So
Hell yeah. Okay.
yeah,
I may have to get that info and see what he's been checking out. Cause yeah, it's been truly a treat reading or encountering some of these stories that like I never would have encountered on my own, right? I would have said like,
yeah,
"Oh, that's not for me," when in reality it's like, "Oh no, it's actually very much for you. You love that thing, right?"
oh yeah,
So yeah, very enjoyable. Book 1, it's like the version I have, it's like separated into three different books.
yep.
So I just finished book 1. So yeah, we'll be interested to talk about that a little bit more. And then my seed here for the week, and this will be the last thing I say. Just expanded my wardrobe a little bit. I spent a
Hmm.
little money on a couple of shirts for work because I'm tired of getting like lotion and oil all over the shirts that I just like want to wear in my daily life. And then the shirts that I want to wear in my daily life, I only have like a handful of them that are like work appropriate. The other ones are like a Cloud9 t-shirt and like an oversized like purple t-shirt that makes me look like Barney. And like one day this was all I had to go down for a client, and I'm like, okay, we need to change some of these things. So moving forward, I'm going to be very excited to put on my work blues, I'll be able to call them. And I got a bunch of them, so it'll just be all the same thing. I won't have to worry like what purple or blue or Cloud9 shirt that I have to wear for my clients make me look like an idiot, right? So I'm very much looking to have a little bit more of a professional look for my sessions.
Nice. I like that. That sounds like a good addition, and also not ruining the shirts that you do like. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It's twofold. You know, can you imagine you show up to a massage, kid has on a fuck it Bay Life shirt?
I mean, that would be kind of hilarious, but also I'd be like, don't know how how much I trust this.
Exactly, right. So just trying to, just trying to improve the product a little bit. That's all.
There we
But yeah, that
go.
was my roast sword and seed for the.
Very nice. Well, and with that being the end of the cooldown lap and the Rose, Thorn, and Seed, that does bring us to the end of the episode. We will miss you all very much over the summer break. We're I'm already ready for F1 to be back, but we've got some other motorsports like we said that you can keep an eye on. You've got the IndyCar race coming up in Portland. I'm sure there's going to be some other WEC and different endurance and other racing going on. So I think MotoGP is still in full swing. So I'll probably be watching some motorcycles out there. But we're looking forward to being back here with you in a few weeks after the Dutch Grand Prix in the Netherlands.
End of August. Remember that. Remember the Tired Boys podcast brings you new episodes after every single Formula One event. Do not forget it. Let your motorsport friends and family know about the show. We really enjoy talking about motorsport. We really enjoy having you here. So thank you very much for your time. This has been another episode of the Tired Boys podcast. Peace out, everyone.
So yeah.